With each season, Stranger Things has taken the series and its characters into crazier, uncharted territory. The Duffer Brothers have promised Season 4 will be no exception, but they also hinted at potential new directions for the show. And certain teases and Easter eggs found in Season 3 may suggest what that new direction could be. We're talking time travel, people.
Great Scott!
I know, this is heavy.
Strap yourselves in. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious, well, you know. Before we dive headfirst into this theory, let's consider where Season 3 of Stranger Things left the story and the characters. It was a bittersweet ending for our heroes of Hawkins. Despite having saved the day once again, the victory wasn't won without its fair share of sacrifices. You'd think, after all these poor people have been through, the creative team might want to cut them some slack, but no! Let's make them suffer even more. Though, to be fair, the day these characters have nothing to worry about is the day the show is over. So, on second thought, let the suffering commence. First and foremost, we had to deal with losing poor Alexei. While at first Alexei was portrayed as just your average evil Russian scientist, he turned out to be so much more.
But he is one of the most dangerous men in the world.
Is Alexei the most adorable Russian in the history of cinema and television? We're willing to make a strong argument that yes he is. Well, unless you find Ivan Drago from Rocky IV adorable.
I must break you.
Anyway, enough about adorable Russians. We also lost Max's older brother, Billy. Despite his incredible hairdo, Billy came across as a pretty awful person in Season 2. But Season 3 gave us a more in-depth look at Billy's life and what made him behave in such a deplorable manner. When he sacrifices himself to save Eleven during Season 3's pulse-pounding finale, you actually feel kind of bad for the guy. I mean, we're not going to admit that we cried or anything. It was sad and all, but we're tougher than that. It's nothing we couldn't handle. We love you, Billy. Sorry about that, folks. Let's push on, shall we? Because both of these sad and horrific farewells are nothing compared to the season's biggest, most heartbreaking demise of all. We're talking about poor Chief Hopper himself. Stay strong, stay strong. But we can take some solace in knowing that Hopper isn't really gone, right? I mean, come on. He's gotta be out there somewhere. Maybe he slipped into the Upside Down to avoid getting totally disintegrated. Or what about that final tease where those Russian guards refer to the American? That's gotta be Hopper, right?
Не американцы.
And come on, we refuse to believe the Duffer Brothers and the rest of the Stranger Things creative team would dare to get rid of David Harbour. How could you not want him around all the time? I mean, just look at the guy, look at that mustache. A brief moment of silence, please, while we admire the glory that is Chief Hopper's mustache. So with Chief Hopper's fate hanging in the balance, there's been a lot of speculation as to where Season 4 of Stranger Things will go story-wise. And while it's too early to tell, and Stranger Things creators the Duffer Brothers are playing coy on the details, some new theories have been popping up. And you know that when new theories start popping up, us folks here at ScreenRant have got to take a closer look. You see, Season 3 may have been dropping some big hints as to what direction Season 4 might go in. Remember all that time spent in the Starcourt Mall? Of course you do. But do you remember what big movie was playing in the movie theater? No, not George A. Romero's Day of the Dead. The other one, Back to the Future.
21 gigawatts!
With Steve and Robin still totally zonked out after being interrogated by Russians, they, along with Dustin and Erica, hide out in a movie theater. The film being screened is none other than Robert Zemeckis' classic 1985 time travel film. Marty McFly's line of dialogue,
Are you telling me that you built a time machine?
interesting that the Duffer Brothers should decide to pick that specific line, right? And let's not forget the other iconic piece of dialogue the Duffer Brothers decided to include as well.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
As you should already know by now, this line leads into the DeLorean taking off into the future. The inclusion of the Back to the Future footage and these lines in particular seem like they could be providing major clues about what's to come. In fact, the Duffer Brothers themselves may have hinted in a recent interview with Entertainment Weekly that time travel isn't outside the realm of possibility. We don't want to write ourselves into a corner, says Duffer Brother Ross. And from this point on, we're referring to both Ross and Matt as Duffer Brother Ross and Duffer Brother Matt respectively. It's just so much fun to say their names that way. Anyway, Duffer Brother Ross told EW, "We try to have these early discussions with the writers just to make sure that we're setting ourselves up to go in the right direction." He goes on to say that while the creative team might not have specific details in mind, they do have a general idea of a lot of the broad strokes of where the story might go. Ross goes on to state, "It's going to feel very different than this season. but I think that's the right thing to do, and I think it'll be exciting. Duffer brother Matt added his 2 cents to the conversation. He stated, "I think the biggest thing that's going to happen is it's going to open up a little bit. Not necessarily in terms of scale, in terms of special effects, but open up in terms of allowing plot lines into areas outside of Hawkins." Now, areas outside of Hawkins could just be referring to the fact that Joyce, her kids, and 11 are moving out of town. Or, what if it's referring to different places and different time periods? There you have it, theory proved, cue the Huey Lewis music. Okay, so while this could really mean anything, there's a strong sense from this interview that the little world of Hawkins is about to get a whole lot bigger. And seeing as how the gang was split up at the end of Season 3 with Joyce, 11, and the Byers boys moving away, maybe this will open the doors and allow easy access for them to get back together with the rest of the team. And maybe, just maybe, those portals to the Upside Down will allow for more than just traveling to distant locations. Maybe it'll offer the opportunity to travel through both space and time. Think we're crazy? Absolutely we are.
What?
But here's another thing that might help convince you we're a little less crazy than you think. Do you recall Stranger Things' earliest days? We're talking back when the series was called Montauk and was originally intended to be an anthology series in the vein of American Horror Story. Stranger Things' story and characters proved so popular and beloved, the Duffer Brothers decided to hone in on those elements instead. But the original plan was to have each season follow a different story with different characters. Their pitch for Montauk suggested that both aliens and time travel could play a part in future stories.
Where?
Back to the future!
There are even hints of time jumps with the grown-up characters coming back to their hometown to put a stop to some evil supernatural force. Does this sound like the plot of Stephen King's It to anyone else? Because it sounds like It to us. After all, Finn Wolfhard was in the It film adaptation. Maybe there is a connection to be found here. Stay tuned for ScreenRant's 10 reasons why Stranger Things' Mike Wheeler and It's Richie Tozier are the same character. But back to the point. What exactly does all this time travel nonsense mean for 11 and everyone's favorite gangly teenaged crew? And why does this suggest time travel may play a role in Season 4? It all comes back to Chief Hopper.
It's Jim Hopper. Chief Jim Hopper.
We don't really know what happened to Hopper at the close of Season 3. Honestly, we still don't know a whole lot about the Upside Down. There are still plenty of secrets contained within, and portals providing access to different timelines seems like it could be a likely option. And you know, if 11, Mike, Dustin, and the rest of the crew discover a way to save Chief Hopper, they're gonna jump on that opportunity like it's nobody's business. But why stop there? If time travel opens the doors for the kids to save Chief Hopper, why not take it a step further? What about Barb? Poor Barb, who quickly became a fan favorite after the series first premiered. She met her demise early on, but that hasn't stopped fans from speculating about her return. Would Nancy potentially risk it all to go back and save her best friend? And Barb's not the only unfortunate victim Stranger Things has seen either. How about Bob Newby? Sean Astin's beloved take on Jonathan and Will's almost stepdad won the hearts of many Stranger Things fans all over the world.
I hope it doesn't suck.
And then he had to go and get eaten by a Demogorgon pup. Time travel makes it possible to save Bob too, but at what cost? We've all learned by now that time travel can have serious repercussions. Well, unless we're talking about the Avengers Endgame style of time travel, which just opens up countless alternate universes.
That your plan to save the universe is based on Back to the Future?
But we're willing to bet that since Back to the Future went the route of time travel with consequences, Stranger Things will do the same. From a storytelling perspective, the potential for time travel is extremely exciting. As Duffer brother Matt stated, time travel could open the door to a number of different possibilities. While the 1980s has offered plenty of material for the Duffer brothers to wax poetic about, imagine what would happen if the same crew ended up in the 60s. Or if they want to get really crazy, what if 11 and the gang ended up in the 21st century? They might be disappointed by the total lack of flying DeLoreans and hoverboards, but still, it would be pretty crazy, right? This would also shake things up from the standard bigger and badder monster formula. As terrifying as the Demogorgons are, we have to admit the effect has become a little dull. If our heroes do stumble on the ability to time travel, would the ramifications then include their erasing everything that's happened in the series? Would Mike and 11 never have met? Either way, some kind of time jump is going to have to play a part in this next season. The kids are getting too old to believably portray middle schoolers. Finn Wolfhard, Gatton Matarazzo, and Caleb McLaughlin are all 17-year-olds playing 13 and 14-year-olds. By the time Season 4 starts rolling cameras, they'll likely be adults. Crazy, right? There needs to be some kind of explanation, and a time jump seems the most logical option. Regardless of whether or not all this time travel stuff plays out, one thing is for certain. With Season 4 of Stranger Things, the Duffer Brothers and their creative team seem set on changing the series forever. And if Season 4 really is the last season as has been rumored, then why not go out with the kind of time-traveling bang that would make the Russo brothers proud? Now here's the real question. What do you think? Are the Duffer Brothers teasing time travel as a possibility for Season 4? Do you think Chief Hopper, Barb, and Bob can be saved? Let us know in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe to our channel. Click that little bell to stay up to date on all the great content we're broadcasting from the Upside Down here on ScreenRant.